What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wolf Crier here, and welcome to another episode of the AARPG Vodcast. And today I am joined by my good friend Aetrik and my almost good friend Midnite. No, just kidding. Midnite, member of my crew, and we do a lot of talking about action role-playing games. He doesn't actually fit with this group because he is not a older person. He is more of a what one would call a millennial. But we've decided to bring him on the show anyways. Tonight we are going to be talking about Diablo 4 at Blizzconline. All of the stuff that was revealed today on the opening ceremony and the concurrent panels that were held today during the first day of Blizzconline. And a lot of stuff out there regarding this game. A lot of cool things that I've been able to pick up as far as the environments, as far as the rogue, and I think the biggest reveal was that rogue class. What do you guys think? Aetrik, what are your thoughts on the reveal for the brand new class in Diablo 4?
I expected a reveal. Honestly, personally, I was kind of hoping to be more Amazon, but that's just a personal thing because from D2, I did enjoy the Amazon a lot. But the rogue looked really cool. It looked like it had a couple of very different possible play styles, the ability to teleport around and pick a couple off here and there until you whittle a pack down to size, and then of course the rain of arrows where you can just pop off entire AoE groups. So I like the mobility that the class seemed to have. I like the 3 different specialization possibilities. Overall, I think it's going to be fun to play. Out of the classes that have been revealed so far, I might lean towards it, just because it seems like it might have a little bit more customizability, and I like to tinker with things a lot. Now, there are a lot of things I think they're going to have to be super careful with balancing on stuff that we saw, because given what we saw, I feel like the rogue could be made it could be really broken if someone got in there and played around with some things. But overall, I think it's a good reveal.
Yeah, I think that's something that they'll definitely be working on during the development, is making sure that, things balance well between the classes. But also one aspect that you brought up was the versatility. And I hope this is something that is leaning into everything for each individual classes, how their play styles can be made to be completely different and easily augmented to your own tastes, if you will. Midnite, your thoughts on the rogue reveal today?
No, I absolutely love it. Definitely something I can't wait to play. Just to touch on what Aetrik said, the class specialization for it, I think, is amazing with the Shadow Realm, where it allows you to, get yourself into a pack of, enemies and only be able to fight 3 of them and then come back out and, less of a problem. I think it's going to be amazing. The versatility is awesome with it.
Yeah, I like that aspect of being able to spec into 3 different ways to play it, whether you're going into that Shadow Realm, being able to pull just a small section of the enemies that you've managed to group up. You can single them out and they can only see you can only see them, and you're able to pick them off. But then there's also the combo point system that is very reminiscent of, something like an assassin or something similar in Diablo 2. And there's a lot of that aspect going on where you've got that ability to choose between 3 different possible choices when it comes to that play style. But then in addition to that, you also have the system where you can imbue your weapons with different properties. So you can imbue with ice or poison or shadow, and that changes your build as well. So that's something the customization when it comes to the rogue class seems to be top notch in that
Another
aspect.
thing that I thought was really cool about that changing like the elements and everything on your attacks that they showed was the fact that okay, if I'm with a wizard that's like specializing in cold and we want the freezes to happen more often, I can just flip mine over to a cold like rain of arrows and freezes stack as a group collectively, so stuff happens faster. So I think
Hmm.
that's also going to add a lot of group utility to it, which is something that, given a rogue type class, I was kind of a little bit concerned about group utility. But that kind of thing, plus things like the Shadow Realm, being able to, like, if you're in a group and things are getting really hairy, being able to pull things into that small realm and just take out a little chunk to make it easier for the group. I think they've done some things in here to make it very group viable as well. Because when I was watching it, I was seeing like three different types of play. Like you said, the combo thing, very reminiscent of the assassin. And then when they were messing around with the bow and the like full AoE clearing everything on screen, I was thinking, okay, this is like hardcore Demon Hunter from D3 type play style. And then the teleporting around doing like flurries, like I really got a kick out of that because it actually made me think of that janky Wilson character that I had that was just teleporting and like
Yeah.
furious jabs things over and over uh, through a map. So I was like, okay, it really looks like there's going to be a lot of utility to bring to a group as well, and just being able to flip around having fun when you're solo.
Plus the exploit weakness. That's going to be really good for players who are like on point with the clicking
That
and
one
whatnot.
borderline concerns me for stuff we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Agreed with what I think you're talking about, but also, I mean, it's cool that there's that third aspect of that, but the combo of them, you can go,
Yeah.
you can imbue your weapons with shadow and do the shadow realm, or you can do ice and still do the shadow realm stuff, and it just, to me, it's the versatility that I hope as they're going through the development, all of this is also being transferred to the other characters as well, where now we have this one class that is really seems to be very versatile in its builds and its ability to adapt to different situations. I want to see that extended to each of the other classes. We all know that they all have their own separate systems, which I think is very awesome. I just want to see stuff like this continue to expand upon all of that, where, a barbarian should feel completely different than a rogue or a sorceress or a druid. But at the same time, they should all have that wide openness when it comes to creating builds and stuff like that. Is that my dog? I think my dog's barking. So I apologize for that. This part might need to be taken out of the video. So we'll have to see. I can't.
No, man, it just
It
humanizes you
just it
more.
just it just adds to it. It adds to it all. But yeah, I want to see that versatility transfer over to every class, and I want to see, Blizzard continue bringing all of this together and that sort of thing. Uh,
And and one thing I'd love to see is I'd really like to see every one of the classes, because it looks like they're trying to make sure that every class has a couple different paths, that every class has some way that they can fit into a group setup that makes them viable, and you don't have, one or two classes that is just like, no, they don't really have a place in any kind of real group setup. So, and some of the things like you mentioned, like combining some of the things like flipping the element of your weapon with Shadow Realm. But if you're in an area, maybe you're like, if they put things like, just think if they put different like elemental weaknesses to different monster packs, and you run in somewhere and you're running into things that have different types of elemental weaknesses, being able to pop one group into the Shadow Realm and hit them for their weakness, come out and then deal with the others. Like there's so much possibilities on how that could be done.
It's definitely going to put an interesting aspect to it if they do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to say that the rogue class excites me the most, even though I will be playing druid. Druid's my guy. It's what I want to be playing, but this reveal is probably the biggest when it comes to classes, at least in my opinion, because it showcased so much of what I think they're trying to do with this game, where it's allowing you to create the build and create the play style that you want to play, with each individual class being able to be played completely different than each other and completely different within its own class. I think it's going to be able to allow people to have, that one action role-playing game star that they want in their journey. I think that's going to be, something that they need to keep pushing. And I want to see where this goes, not only with the rogue class and the ones that we already know about, but any future classes as well. I want to see exactly what they're able to pull off with this. And on that note, do you guys have anything else to say about the rogue, or do you guys want to move on to the open world aspect of Diablo 4 and what we learned about today and all the beautiful imagery that we got to share with the Diablo community?
I mean, can we just talk about how awesome the reveal for the rogue was? Like, the video for that was just
we didn't even touch on the cinematic.
I loved
the cinematic
The
was
ears.
amazing.
The ears. But yeah, no, that cinematic was spot on, right with how, the feel of Diablo seems to be going. It's very, very dark, very gritty, very gruesome at times, and very, this world is so messed up, and that's what it really conveyed. Just like the opening cinematic that we got to see at last BlizzCon, this one was more of that, showcasing that, this world is pretty effed up and things are grim, things are dark, and I love that aspect, that return to the darkness that Diablo really needed, in my opinion, to recapture. Not that Diablo 3 didn't have its dark points, it definitely did, but this aspect of, everything's dark and gritty and, the world is against you, because it is at this point. You lost. And now the future members of this society have to somehow reclaim some sort of victory, hopefully, and I think that's something that really got conveyed in both the first cinematic that we got to see last year and this rogue cinematic, especially with the ears, the PvP ears, and the way he squished it onto that hook. Oh,
I'll be
but
honest, like
awesome.
that cinematic took a turn for me there, because at the start when she just started laying the ears out on the pew, I was like, okay, she's intimidating him or something. And then he took the ears and opened like his ear cabinet. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that priest to be like all Buffalo Bill in here. I was like,
Let me show
holy
you my
crap.
trophy collection.
Yeah, that took a turn that I was not expecting, but it was really
The
awesome.
cinematic was awesome.
We are going to go ahead and move on to the open world aspect of Diablo 4, which is something we also got a glimpse of at this year's Blizzconline, and it was pretty epic. Some of the things that we got to see, some of the things that we got to hear about, like the claiming of towns or camps that would become those waypoints. So now it's not just you go somewhere and you get a waypoint automatically all the time. Sometimes you have to liberate an area or create a camp in order to gain access to that waypoint and to those vendors and stuff like that. that is one pretty epic portion that I think is pretty awesome. And then you've got the mount system. The mounts look amazing. I love the whole gigantic world aspect where you will need a mount and you will be able to traverse, huge areas on your mount, and you'll be able to jump up, do a special move, and engage battle from your horse.
Yeah. So for the open world, like you said, those camps where you have to go in and liberate them to get the waypoints, I think that is a really awesome mechanic. It's going to add things for people to do. It's also, I think, going to make it more valuable for people to explore a lot of areas. Is it just am I muted or is Wolf muted?
Wolf muted himself.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Wolf muted himself because I think he's like choking to death on something over there right now. Hopefully he'll get better before this ends. But those I think are going to be cool because I think they're going to increase people's desire to explore every corner to try and find like all the waypoints and all the camps. And another thing, like Wolf mentioned, the mounts and dismounting and everything, that I thought was a really good thing that was added for the mounts is the fact that if a monster hits you, it force dismounts you. So that's going to prevent people from just like speeding through things to get from point A to point B and kind of honestly missing the open world. So I think they're adding like an entire exploration aspect to the game that has not really been there. And I find that as something that's going to be a lot of fun, just going to try and find all like the unique places and all the different things. And then of course, like there's vertical movement up cliffs and things in here. That's something that I think is going to be cool. So like the open world is adding a lot of things that I think is going to add value. And I think it's going to make the game feel a lot less linear than they have like up to this point.
I think it's going to be very cool to see that, upward mobility and the vertical aspects, like you said, as long as it's not gimmicky. But from the most part, when I've seen it in the demo and during the reveals that came out today, it doesn't appear that way. It seems to allow you to become engrossed in your surroundings and the way that they're able to do it. That stuff exists in Diablo 3. You can go downstairs. You can teleport downstairs, stuff like that. But I think it gets amplified in Diablo 4, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, the movement with going up the walls and jumping over the gaps, to me, it looks fluid. Like it looks good.
Yeah, just like you just said, and like Nightwolf just mentioned, that chasm jumping. And I kind of got the impression watching it that it seems like they're intending for maybe there are multiple ways to get to a different place.
Yeah.
And your exploration, like you'll be able to sort of focus on like what type of way do you want to get there? Do you want to like go explore this like back way to get there that might have to climb up some vertical walls and jump over a chasm or something? Or maybe there's a different way to get there that's really straightforward, but if it's like loaded with monsters and harder, like some hard fights to get there, it'd be cool if they have different things like that. Just so you have options on how to get through the game at different points.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, even using those things to maybe get to certain hidden and Easter egg type bosses or something like that, that initially you wouldn't know about, because you'll be fresh playing the game brand new, just like everybody else. And there could be stuff hidden off the way that you'd have to jump across caverns, go into caves, stuff like that. And then, wait, what's this over here? I think that's going to bring a lot of the exploration aspect into it, where you might not want to skip those areas. The way everything's going to flow, hopefully, works out really well. I love the aspect of the open world. I like the ability to run into the occasional other player. I really do. And just like Nightwolf just said,
Yeah.
mounts as collectibles, you can run around, find different quests and stuff like that that'll give you a mount or special bosses to kill. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
I like
like the
that.
whole collectible aspect of it. You know, being able to hunt for those cosmic wings that I still don't have in Diablo 3. That aspect is really cool for some players.
It's as easy as just finding one rainbow goblin.
It sure is. One rainbow goblin is all you need, and you get those, but it has to be the right one. But,
Yeah, I also agree with it, what Nightwolf just said there. Like the cool thing about being able to like equip your mounts with stuff too, to change how they look, like different types of barding or armor, and the fact that you can change your mounts like run speed by different hoof placements or something. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that could be something for people who do want to just try to maybe get through the main part of the game faster, could hook up their mount to go faster. And maybe someone that's more just exploration, chill, could take a slower mount and just look for all the little nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
And I also think that kind of open world thing makes it more fun for like people who aren't going to be the really hardcore players that are going to like be the first few to the end of the game and get all the bosses. Instead, they're going to be casually strolling around, but they still have a chance. They might be the first person to find some cool Easter egg there. So that kind of thing is, I think, going to help out maybe a lot of the casual player base feel like they're more valuable to the game
I
or
think
more
that's
important.
the other aspect too, is that people play games like Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 differently. So me, for instance, I go to 70 the first night of a season. I'm on pushing greater rifts and stuff within the first day or two, and that's how I play it. But there's a lot of other players out there who play it because they want to play the campaign. And they've played the campaign 10, 11 times, you know, and they don't go to YouTube. They don't check out guides because they're having fun playing the game and they don't do that sort of thing. So we always forget about those gamers that are not looking up guides and not trying to copy everybody else, who are trying to do their own thing and just playing it because they love the game. My son, for instance, he's 13. He's played Diablo 3 for the last few years. And when I tell him I'm already at 70, 800 Paragon and it's day 3 of a season, he's like, I'm like 46 and I've been 46 for the last 2 months, you know, or it took me like a month and a half to get there. But he plays the game completely different than I do. If I taught him how to speed run it, you know, and to get to 70, but he enjoys playing the campaign. So that's how he plays Diablo. He doesn't just do rifts or party up and try to get leveled as fast as he can. He enjoys the game and the playing aspect of it. I haven't played the campaign since the moment adventure mode came out, where it said I don't have to play the campaign anymore. You know what I mean? I don't, because I played the campaign, I enjoyed the story, but I like the fast-paced action of jumping in, being able to level up my guy, and then get to that loot grind. You know, it's part of the reason why Diablo 2, I think, I tried going back to, but I can't find myself doing it because I played the crap out of that game and I don't want to go through the game again. I don't want to go through the campaign. I don't want to level up in that traditional sense. I want to be able to enjoy it the first few times. It's one thing about, I love Path of Exile, but it's the one thing I hate about Path of Exile is that if I want to make a third character this league that I'm playing, I got to go through the entire campaign again. It's one thing I do not like is being forced to play the same content over and over and over again without uh being able to do different ways. Diablo 3 is quite limited. You do play the same content over and over again, but you're not stuck doing the story. You're not stuck killing Leoric for the 875th time in order to level up a brand new character. You're able to start a season and play adventure mode and do whatever you want. Run greater rifts, go do bounties, go do different areas and try to get massacre bonuses, all of that stuff. I want to see that as well in this, but I want to be able to enjoy it in the beginning where, you can just go through the campaign and enjoy it. But eventually there needs to be an adventure mode as well. That's something that I would like to see. But getting back to your point, people play the game differently. People should have different things to do. If your thing is you want to go see every area and how beautiful they've crafted this game and kill some monsters on the way, you should have that ability to do so. And the other guy that wants to hurry up and get to the end game so that they can jump into dungeons and stuff like that, they should also have the ability to do so. Midnite, your thoughts on that?
I would agree. I like the aspect of, with Diablo 3, you have your different type of people that play the game differently. Like you have your people that push the leaderboard, you have your people that enjoy the story mode and like running through the story. The only thing I kind of don't want to see, and I'll probably get crap for this later on, is with D4, I kind of don't want to see him to bring like that power leveling. Like I like the aspect of adventure mode. I don't think I want to see power level in D4. Like where you can go to a Torment 6 and just run and you do like two Nephilims and you're pretty much max level.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see where, similar to PoE and a few other games that I've played, what was the other one? The Marvel game there that David Brevik worked on there. Oh, I can't think of the name of it right now, but Voldy would know. But what it is they lower the level of the people that are higher level so that they can join their buddy and play, but their buddy still has to level at the pace that would normally be viable for a group at that level, instead of jumping into a T6 Rift and boom, 3 minutes and I'm level 70. I'd rather have the progression there, but I want to be able to play with my friends even if I'm starting a new character. I think that should exist. But yeah, I like the whole systems where you can lower the level of your current guy to join your buddy who's leveling up. Marvel Heroes, that's what it was, Shazam. So they did a lot of that where you could play with your friends. You were level 19, they were level 70, but the monsters around you would scale to you. So regardless of the level gap between the two of you, they would still gain their levels from doing it. So there's no harm in them coming to help you because they're still getting something out of it as well. But you're able to gain their, camaraderie while you're doing it. First tune levels normal, then other tunes can level slightly faster, 2 times as fast. Not max level in 3 minutes. I think being able to party with your friends would be still an aspect of that where you can still level your guy up. I just want things to be better when it comes to you don't have to do the same thing twice. You don't have to go through the entire campaign to level up every single character you make.
Well, with an open world, it makes it a lot easier to accommodate that because, in the campaign, the way it is in like Diablo 3, you have to go through a certain way. Like this zone doesn't unlock until you complete this one. You have to complete it step by step. And the open world type environment, like you can run wherever you want to that you can like physically get your character to. So there may not really be as much of a need for the idea of completing the campaign, honestly, at all. If you just want to run around in the world, like finding camps and doing little dungeons to level, you can. At some point, you would want to beat the game just because, the story for Diablo games tend to be really good stories and you kind of want to get through it. But that also, the open world really enables things like you were just talking about, where you can group with friends even though you're different levels, but it like scales everybody to like the monsters in the area that you're in so that everybody's gaining something from it. And it's not really power leveling anybody so much. Everyone sort of grows at the advancement pace where they should be at that point. And it also helps keep it from one person seeming way too overpowered for that and make it feel like they're carrying someone so much. You can do things like that in open world environments. That's a lot harder to do in linear games because there's set levels. When you're here, you move there. So I think the open world is going to help address the issue of like running through the campaigns over and over again. There'll probably still be some kind of adventure mode just to get into like the traditional torment difficulties, because that'll obviously have to be a thing just to hold with tradition, right? But outside of that, with open world, there's really no need to have that kind of thing. Maybe the torment things are just different in-game things that you like walk through, different portals to go to different torment tiers of the world or something. So I'm not entirely sure there's like even a need for adventure mode if they do, depending on how they do the open world in the end.
That's true too. I didn't even think about that. It being an open world, do you really even need an adventure mode? Because it should all be an adventure mode. And the only aspect of adventure mode in Diablo 3 is that you don't have to do the campaign. You can just do, the bounties that are in the area. But if they already incorporate that into this wide open world, that would probably eliminate the need for an adventure mode.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably going to butcher this person's name. Sanakara said what if they made parts of the campaign character like class specific, which I do believe they spoke about that, didn't they?
They did mention in the rogue reveal that in a certain area there's quests that only a rogue can get that's specific to them, that is like a little sort of story for the rogue in that area. So there are going to be like area specific things for different classes.
Not only is it story that's specific, it's your trainers. If you want to spec into certain aspects of a rogue, you have to go do these quests, I believe. So there's different areas that'll train the rogue to do different things. So I think that's something that they could easily incorporate into the other classes as well and allow for more immersion in the story.
Now, being we're on the topic of open world, can I ask your guys' opinion on what you think about the gear selection and selection for each individual part of the world?
Oh, how like it looks like swords look different in the different areas based on sort of the culture there. Yeah, I think that is a very interesting little touch that they're adding. It's one of those little details that kind of goes a long way.
Yeah, I think the whole world gear thing is pretty amazing. How it adds that little aspect of, well, you wouldn't find a broadsword over here because this area doesn't use broadswords and stuff. You know what I mean? So this is an area that seems more like it would use scimitars and stuff like that. I think that stuff is pretty cool. I think it's still going to come down into, what type of gear you're looking for your build. But maybe that'll be incorporated into transmogs, etc. But maybe you
Well,
can't get those transmogs unless you go to that area and find those items there and those cosmetics there. So that would be something that would be interested to see whether they incorporate that sort of stuff into the
yeah,
transmog system.
but like one of the things on that though, if they're wanting just the look to be different based on the world regions, it could be, like, I don't have a clue what it is that they're developing, plain and simple. But a way that they could do this is like they have a weapon class, like longsword, and you have like maybe it's called a longsword in this region, but in another one it's called a scimitar, but they're the same base weapon with just a different look. So the base stats are the same, and the only thing that's really different is the modifiers. And then what you're going to open up is like Midnite. I know you've played Warframe with me before. You're going
Yeah.
to open up sort of this fashion frame kind of idea that they have in Warframe, where you're going to have people that will go and grind different areas looking for the specific like look of the gear they're wanting in the stats that they want, so that they have the character that ultimately is like, this is the way I wanted my guy to look. So you'll have people potentially chase down very specific looks right up until the point that they add the mystic and you can just transmog.
But I think that you're still going to have to search out those looks in order
You'll
to
have to search out the
transmog it.
looks. You just won't have to grind as hard to find the look that you need with the specific stats. Yeah. But you would definitely still have to go find the looks initially anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good aspect that can work into that with the whole aesthetics to the game. I
Yeah.
like it. I like the whole thing where, if you're fighting a guy over in this area, he's going to look like he should be in that area, And I think that they're doing a lot of that stuff with everything from the classes, the monster packs, the monster families, that is, and now the weapon system. Everything seems to be flowing into this world isn't just going to be something that's thrown together. Each area is meticulously going to be designed to be that area, to feel like it should be whatever this area is. And whether that's the terrain, the gear, the monster families, the lore that's in that area and what's going on. I really can't wait to see exactly how everything fleshes out with this, because so far it's looking amazing. The open world system, the mount system is just flat out awesome. And the way everything is just starting to come together, I can't wait till the next quarterly update, because I can't wait to see what they reveal as time goes by. I'm personally hoping that this is going to be out by 2023. That's my goal, maybe early 2023, but I think it's still got a little ways to go, but it's progressing at a pretty decent pace. They are revealing stuff like the Rogue this year already, and so far all of the information that they've given out and then changed, because we gave feedback that certain systems didn't seem to flow well in a Diablo game or in a fast-paced game. So things are changing, but things are being added and implemented as well. I think before we move on to PvP, if there's another class announced, what do you think it's going to be? Aetrik.
Inquisitor. Currently non-existing class called Inquisitor or something similar to that.
So far, every Diablo game has also introduced a brand new class. That is true. So that is something that they could actually do in the beginning. They could hold off on something like the Necromancer or like that, just like they did in Diablo 3, and add it later. Or they could start the game with 6 classes instead of 5 or 4. They could go with more. I think more would be better, but Yeah, I'd like to see them introduce something brand new as well. I think that something, whether it's Inquisitor or Priest class or something like that, would be pretty cool to see. Your thoughts, Midnight?
Uh, I personally think I would like to see a paladin, but I kind of would also like to see like a minion class, like a witch doctor or a necro or something like that. But I'd like for a paladin to be the next class.
Did you play a lot of Paladin in D2, or did you play D2?
I not much. Paladin, I would say mainly because of like what I played on other games, Paladin aspect wise. I like the versatility of them. I mean, that could say that it could be a completely different type as far as D2 goes, but
Well, they could, like Aetrik said, they could do something like a Inquisitor along the Paladin Crusader line, but
Yeah,
something a little bit different, something more uh, Witch Hunter
yeah,
esque.
and we've kind of discussed, Wolf, about like my lore based theory for some Inquisitor type class in D4. So that would probably have to be another video altogether. But
Yeah,
like,
we'll definitely look into
oof,
doing that. We did record another video, ladies and gentlemen, for our thoughts on this BlizzCon, but the sound quality wasn't up to par for me, and it had some issues. And now this video also has some issues too, but hopefully I can iron that out during editing, and hopefully that won't be a problem and I can get it up on YouTube. But let's go ahead and jump into the last topic of this evening, PvP in Diablo 4. Midnight, thoughts?
I'm excited. A big fan of PvP from like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. So the PvP aspect looks amazing. I like the fact of when you go into the certain areas of the open world and it's you collect currency, and to be able to turn that currency in, it just pings on the map that you're there, and everybody gets to come take your currency. I think it's awesome. I'm stoked about it. Like we talked about earlier, I'm a little worried about how certain classes are going to play out in the PvP aspect, especially
Yeah,
with the rogue.
wreck shop.
But I'm definitely stoked for PvP. I can't wait.
I'm wondering how all of that's gonna play out with the balance factor of it. Yeah, I mean, when you're already balancing for PvE and then trying to balance for PvP on top of it, there's got to be something that gives. And I personally don't want it to be the PvE that gives in order to have PvP. But I do like the aspect of it, and I do like the whole lore behind it, how you've journeyed into a portion of the world that is bubbling up, as they say, with Mephisto's anger, and everybody turns against each other, and it's got a reason for PvP. And then yeah, that whole thing where you fight each other, you collect this currency that you can go turn in for something cool, but the second you start turning it in, everybody knows you're there trying to turn it in, which means everybody knows you have some currency, and they're going to come try and stop you. Now, that's got to all be balanced out, because how is grouping going to work? How is the instancing going to work for that? Are you going to end up with one person versus parties, or are they going to have, separate instances for that sort of thing? It's all going to matter how that comes about. The cool thing they said is no PvP item will be more powerful than a PvE item. So that's very good. So I don't want to see where you have to PvP in order to get the best piece of gear. If you don't want to PvP, you should be able to avoid it completely, because I personally, I love PvP when I'm playing Heroes of the Storm or Apex Legends or something like that. I'm not a fan of PvP in my ARPGs. I never have been. I wasn't a big PvPer in Diablo 2. You know, if I'm in the brawling area in Diablo 3, I'm there for like 6 minutes and then I'm like, yeah, this was boring, because I don't care whether or not you can kill me. I want to be able to kill Diablo, you know, because that's why I'm playing this game. But for those that are excited about PvP, I hope that it gets some love and some balance, and it's not just a big clusterfuck. So that's going to be the hard thing, is making sure that everything is balanced without overcompensating it where it hurts the PvE aspect. So that's my whole thing. I love PvP if it doesn't mess up the rest of the game. I'm all for it. I probably won't be a big PvPer. I'll be playing the game, trying to, you know, create my build and play how I want to play. I'll probably PvP a little bit here and there. If it's group PvP, then, you know, there might be something there. Maybe I'll be interested in, you know, all right, guys, let's go, you know, but for the most part, I'm going to be focused on the rest of the game. But more power to them if they can pull it off. Aetrik?
Get your PvP out of my PvE game. No, it looks cool what they're talking about doing. I have major like reservations and concerns when like it looks like they're really trying to implement PvP as something that is sort of a draw to a PvE game, just because there are so many things that it could negatively impact. First of all, there's that whole balancing between classes in and of itself so that they're all, you know, have a place in PvE is tough. But then when you add, okay, we're also throwing PvP in here and we need to balance all these classes so that they're competitive in PvP, but one of them doesn't get way too strong. Like there's so much that can go wrong and just the nightmare of balancing those things. Then there's also the issue of, you know, maybe it becomes a thing where you just have to have a PvP character and a PvE character. Also, like if it's really, if they ever put sort of a bit of an emphasis on PvP to try and draw in new players, saying, "Hey, we've got these cool PvP areas now." You're starting to possibly draw in a crowd that are looking at Diablo as a PvP type option, and then you could start getting two vastly different groups of players, which can cause major arguments in a community. For example, like I do play Elder Scrolls Online as well, and like PvP versus PvE in there, like the people in PvP absolutely hate the fact that like the monster set system requires them to go do dungeons, like veteran hard mode dungeons and stuff to get a 2-piece armor set that's going to give them a major boost in their PvP damage output or survivability. And at the same point, there are some sets that you have to do PvP to get that are ridiculously stronger on a lot of builds than what you can get in the PvP environment, because they're trying to create a system where they want people to do both. But as a result, it creates a lot of friction between the two groups. So you see there's a PvE group and a PvP group, and like there's a lot of fighting between the two on like how the game needs to be balanced. You could run into that kind of situation. I don't think Blizzard will focus towards that, though. I don't think that'll be the goal. I think it'll be more of a, hey, here's a fun little thing for you to go do when you can. I just hope that in the implementation of the PvP, they don't overbalance for PvE, causing a hit to PvE. So then there's also the thing of, like you mentioned, Wolf, that you really hope like group PvP would be kind of cool. I think if they did that, they'd have to have different areas that are specifically group PvP. Because
Agreed.
then you run into the issue of someone in there soloing in PvP, having fun, just screwing around, and you get a group of 6 people come in here, just start steamrolling everybody that's by themselves. They might be able to like deal with that without having separate instances for group versus solo PvP. If, for instance, like in the lore of it, you go to that area and you're sort of absorb Mephisto's anger, and it enables you to hit and fight other players. If doing that causes friendly fire to be a thing. So if you try to group, it's going to be a lot more tactical because you have to be extremely aware of where everyone's located and where your skills are going to hit. The other like concern that I would have on PvP is with what we saw with the Rogue today. I think the Rogue, as it is on PvP, is just going to absolutely wreck people for a couple of reasons. If PvP is going to be like really a solo thing and there's not really a group aspect to it, exploit weakness is going to make them just beast mode on people, for people that are good at getting their timings right, because they're going to be like guaranteed ripping damage through players. If groups are allowed in there, typical group setup, you're going to have a support in there, someone that's going to be able to offer some sort of healing thing that's going to really boost the efficacy of the group. Well, then you've got a rogue that's sitting out here that like teleports in, shadow realms their support guy when you figure out who it is, wipes them out, and that group's efficacy just tanks. And then you just leisurely destroy the rest of the group. I do like that they're taking, like Electro Slammer mentioned, a Destiny 2 Gambit kind of approach to it, where it's sort of a PvE PvP zone. You can sneak into like the PvP area and go kill monsters that are in there, and they're going to drop those shards of anger as well. So you can build up your shards of anger, but then you got to go to the thing to turn them in to get them refined so they become the currency. And that's going to alert everybody that you're there. And then you're going to have a period while that's refining that you're basically going to have to defend yourself. But once it's refined, you're in the clear, then you can go spend your currency. So I think it's going to be something that's going to be fun if they can pull it off. My biggest concern is like a lot of games that I've played that have tried to implement a PvP system into a PvE game. So many things have gone wrong. And a lot of it has been in attempting to balance the two like really different aspects of the games. And trying to balance one, you end up destroying the balance in another. So I don't know how they'll really reconcile that. That's a bridge that they'll have to cross. Them having PvP in isn't really something that I'm against until the point that it does start to be a detriment to the PvE part that I'll be spending most of my time in.
Exactly.
Because I think they just need to, like, devs need to remember first and foremost, this is a PvP game. PvE game with a little PvP fun side thing.
I agree. As long as it doesn't mess up the rest of the game, I'm okay with it. Just like Ed said. Midnite, what were you saying?
I was going to say I agree with him as far as that goes. Like I personally love PvP, but if it's at the cost of ruining the story mode, ruining the PvE aspect of the game, I'd rather see the PvE aspect of the game prevail over the PvP.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, like if depending on how you can set up the rogue, I might spend a lot of time in PvP, because if I'm able to do something like, okay, for example, Elder Scrolls Online, hardcore, when I'm in PvP in there, I am doing what they call ganking. I'm not trying to hit leaderboards, I'm just screwing with people. And
I
there's
think you're going to have that too. You're going to have,
exactly like if I
you're
can
going to
like
have
sneak
the
in with a
griefing.
rogue
You're
and
going
just
to have,
blitz one person that's like trying to do something and just take their anger shards and then like stroll out and be like, all right, have fun. Because I know one of the things I used to do all the time, PvPing in Elder Scrolls, there are quest hubs in the PvP zone
hmm
with people like quest turn-in people that you have to go through dialogue. And in one of them, there was a balcony in a building that you could go up in, and I played a Nightblade, which is basically the rogue class, and there's a teleport strike skill. I would sit up there stealthed on that balcony, waiting for someone to initiate the dialogue with that NPC. And while they were in conversation, I'd teleport strike down on them and destroy them, and then go back and hide just to mess with people. I would 100% be doing stuff like that if it works in PvP like this, and I'd
yeah,
get a kick out of it for a little bit here and there.
it's definitely something I want to see how they pull it off
Yeah,
because I have my reservations like you do. Like anybody who's in this game for PvE is going to have reservations about how they pull off PvE and what that means for the rest of the game. I personally have always wondered why games that are PvP and PvE just don't run a system where you have two sets of gear for your character that just, if you're attacking a player, it takes into account your PvP gear and not your main gear. I've
yeah,
always, I mean, nowadays, engines should be able to handle that sort of thing where, okay, these are the stats I look at for player versus player. These are the stats I look at for player versus environment, and it's possible they could pull something up like that off, but I don't think they're at that point or at that stage where they're doing that. At least from any of the images we've seen, there isn't a backup inventory system unless it's an entirely different UI. So far that doesn't seem to be the case, but I wonder why games don't do that, where you take into account if I, within 3 seconds of each other, hit a mob and then hit a person, why it can't just take these stats when I'm hitting the mob and then turn around and use these stats when I'm hitting the player. So maybe that can be incorporated into it where your PvE gear doesn't even matter when it comes to player versus player. That's kind of how I think it needs to play out. And it would be a great way to, auto balance PvP and PvE. Because I'm great, like I said, I'm great with PvP as long as it doesn't fuck up Diablo 4. As long as it doesn't screw up my experience playing this PvE game where I'm, fighting the hordes of hell. Yeah, I've played Diablo. I've played World of Warcraft. I enjoyed PvP in there. But I've also been griefed for, half an hour where, okay, I can't go do this quest now because this area is dead to me because I can't go do anything because there's some level 58 D-bag sitting here waiting for me to come out and I'm level 29. You know what I mean? So
rogues.
I don't want to see that happen in Diablo 4. And I don't want to miss out on the game. So hopefully that just stays in these PvP parts and that doesn't mess up my gear when it comes to balancing for the regular game. That's all. Division 2 kind of does that. Everything in the Dark Zone has a different set of damage versus the open PvE world. That's good to know. So hopefully that system, some type of system like that, where it just negates your PvE gear when you're PvPing, I think that's going to be the only way they can pull it off. It could just be like Diablo 2 PvP, where it's quick and you're able to, most players will just be able to wreck somebody really fast and move on. Or it could be drawn out and turned into this big arena type thing that they wanted to do with Diablo 3. But keep in mind, Diablo 3 didn't launch with PvP, and that's probably because it was impossible to balance and not screw up the rest of the game. that's most likely what happened is it became too much of an issue trying to do both.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's also interesting that if
nice
you do
Electro.
engage in PvP, you don't want to be too good at it. Because if you're too good at it, then a big target comes up and everyone knows where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to be just good enough to make some gains, but not so good that you get noticed.
Yeah, but the good thing about getting noticed is you get extra bonus reward for that.
Yeah, if you
Yeah, if
survive
you pull it
onslaught
off.
from everybody that comes at you from the entire zone.
The concept is cool. The
Yeah.
concept is cool. I will give it that. But it has to be pulled off flawlessly in order to, or at least in a way where if it doesn't get pulled off flawlessly, it doesn't mess with the base game. That's all. That's all for me with PvP. I'm sure I'll participate here and there because I do enjoy that sort of thing every now and then. So it will be something that I do participate in, but not the majority of my time. Any final thoughts on PvP, gentlemen? Start with Midnite.
Not really. I mean, I think we pretty much summed it up. I hope it doesn't ruin the PvE aspect of the game. I do like it, but yeah, I'm stoked about it.
Aetrik?
I might at some point engage in PvP after I see how it's balancing. But like out the gate, I can guarantee that I'm probably not touching it for a month or two. I'll be too busy, maybe longer, depending on how large the world is. I'll be too busy exploring and trying to pick up like tidbits of the lore here and there. Like that's 100% where all my time's going to be out the gate.
Same here. I'm going to be, exploring the world of Sanctuary. I'm going to be seeing what I can do with my builds, etc. But I will engage in some PvP. I'm not going to lie there. It's just, I don't want it at the cost of the rest of the game. As if they can pull both off spectacularly, and if any team can, I think it would be this team. I think that they've made great strides since the early demo that I got to play at last BlizzCon. I think that it can be done. It just has to be done correctly, and I'll enjoy both aspects, I'm sure, because I do like the concept. I do like the thought of it, but I personally, my favorite thing was the rogue reveal and the open world aspect of Diablo 4. I'm really liking how things are coming together. One last question, Electro Slam. Do you guys think that the world boss thing will make the game too MMO-ish? I personally love the world boss thing. I think it's going to add that aspect, but those are very niche areas. So you're not always going to see a ton of people. You're only going to see a ton of people when something big needs to be taken down. That's what's going to call people together. And you're not going to see the entire server there. You're just going to see that instance where, there's 15 to 20, 25 people in one area fighting a big monster. But then when you go back to your questing, you're going to be running into one person every now and then. I think that overall, the way they're currently doing it seems very well done, but we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out as we get more information. But from the demo, it seemed to work very well, where most of the time you were by yourself. Every now and then you would see one or two people, and then all of a sudden a big baddie would show up and a whole bunch of people would try to take it down. I think that's, it also gives you that sense of you're not invulnerable. You're not, the one who's going to take down a lot of these major baddies, in the world by yourself. But there is some special power there where, you're going to help. You're going to be something that might turn the tide. So there's still that hero aspect, but also that stuff's bad. So when big stuff comes, we need a bunch of us. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. I like the open world aspect. I like that MMO-ish, MMO light. If I believe that's, something with Diablo Immortal and D4. I love that aspect. Hopefully it plays out very well. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so very much for checking out this episode of the Vodcast. We are going to go ahead and end it right here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like this content. There will be more coming to the channel on YouTube. And definitely stay tuned to Twitch to see if these continue to be a live thing. I like doing this live. I think that's something that we're going to be doing from now on, is live streaming these discussions, because we'll bring different people in and out and have a nice discussion about gaming every now and then. So hopefully we can get on some type of schedule. But thanks for checking out the video, and you all have a great day. Peace.